you, Chairman Conrad. It's an honor to be here, to be with you. I respect you very much and value our friendship and enjoy being ribbed by you, effectively, I must add, and look forward to working with you to help make our country better. We have some real serious challenges ahead of us. I also want to note how much I have admired our former ranking member, Judge Gregg. I know you and he had a great relationship. I think it's his leadership was particularly valuable. People listened to him. They trusted his judgment. And I hope that I can just come close to being as effective as he's been in this position. I'd like to share some thoughts and concerns. And I know that when the mortgage crisis hit and the economy was whacked, a lot of people got together and tried to make some decisions. Mr. Chairman, it would have been better, I think, had we seen the mortgage crisis 2 years in advance and taken action to make the crisis less real. And I say that I say that because we ought to be humble about where we are today. I don't think anyone fully understands this magnificent world economy we're a part of. I don't think any one person, whether it's the Federal Reserve, the Secretary of Treasury, or even Congress, can have a little meeting and be sure that the action we take are going to have certain impacts on this massive economy of which we are a part. When you're confused, in the end, you need to return to the fundamentals of blocking and tackling, to the fundamentals of paying your bills on time, and create some confidence in the economy. So today is our committee's first hearing of the 112th Congress. We meet on the heels of a historic election. It's important, that election. The American people rebelled against wasteful Washington spending and a government that has grown too large and too intrusive. The American people also rebelled against a political establishment that has placed our country on a path to fiscal decline. Solving our nation's economic and debt crisis is about more than economics. It's about protecting our way of life at home and our standing abroad as a great nation, and it's about honest and moral policy. Our goal is not an era of austerity, but an era of prosperity. Restoring fiscal discipline and strengthening the private sector is the only way to create growth and opportunity for every hardworking American, and it is the only way to protect our country's greatness and its vital role in the world. To solve our problems, we must speak about them candidly. Our nation's debt will soon be equal to the size of our entire economy. 40% of our budget relies on borrowed funds. In 2009, the interest on our debt alone cost $187 billion. And the Congressional Budget Office projects that under the President's budget, these interest payments will climb to $916 billion in 2020. That exceeds any other part of our budget and is growing faster than any other part of our budget, vastly superior to the defense budget. We're on a path that is unsustainable. The only real question is how much road is left between us and the edge of the cliff. The American people understand the situation. They understand that years of unchecked federal spending has squandered our nation's wealth and threatened our children's future. The American people understand that elites in Washington seem to forget, and that is you can only live beyond your means for so long. Eventually, the bill comes due. Fundamentally, it's immoral to take from our children their wealth so we can spend unearned wealth today. There are other problems, too. Considering the housing bubble, for years Congress delayed action to address the unfolding catastrophe at Freddie and Fannie. The Federal Reserve was asleep at the switch and failed to sound the alarm. And then one day the bubble burst and the whole world changed. No one knows exactly what will happen if we continue our spending on the current course, but we must not find out. James Bacon wrote a recent piece in the Washington Times describing some of the worst potential consequences, saying we need to be more specific about what the consequences will be. He said, quote, "One day the Treasury will hold an auction and there won't be buyers. The Federal Reserve will step in as a buyer of last resort, conjuring money from the ether to buy bonds. The injection of massive liquidity into the financial system will trigger fears of hyperinflation, causing the dollar to plunge and interest rates to rise. If the resources of the European Union and International Monetary Fund are stretched to rescue the finances of tiny Greece and Ireland, the United States will not only be too big to fail, but too big to bail out. Absent emergency action by the government, the economy will plunge into a depression roughly 3 times more acute than the recession we just experienced." I don't know if it would happen like that, but Barron's also had an editorial by an experienced Wall Streeter of 45 years warning of a hyperinflationary spiral. The writer explained that while the Federal Reserve can monetize the debt, historically a, quote, "break point occurs when a government borrows an amount equal to 40% of its expenditures for an extended period of time." In a recent interview, Chairman Bernanke, you said you were 100% confident the Fed could prevent such inflation, but I'm not sure the masters of the universe, you being maybe the master, how confident you can be about that. Been wrong before. And while we can debate just how great and imminent the risk is, there's no debating what the American people have declared in poll after poll. We're on the wrong track. But where is the leadership from our administration? Just last December, the President would only agree to maintain current tax rates if Congress agreed to new spending, all borrowed, and that would add another $250 billion to the debt. Instead of slowing down, President Obama hit the accelerator. But simply easing off the pedal won't solve the problem. When you're driving toward a cliff at 90 miles an hour, you can't just slow down to 60. You need to hit the brakes and steer onto the right road. For too long, Washington compromise has changed only the pace and not the direction that we are going. Last November, the American people said enough. That's precisely what they said, I believe. They sent Congress a new freshman class with a clear set of instructions. Those instructions include a budget that changes our trajectory and genuinely reduces the size, cost, and burden of government. We can learn from those who are setting a strong example. In New Jersey, Governor Chris Christie has a plan to close his state's funding gap without raising taxes. In Britain, the new conservative government has taken strong action and has a plan to reduce their deficit from 10 to 4% of GDP in just 4 years. As Britain's Chancellor of the Exchequer, George Osborne, said, "It's a hard road, but it leads to a better future." Yet some would argue that reducing government spending, even a small amount, will reduce the quality of our life. But the surest way to lower the quality of life in America is to continue on our current course, spending without restraint, crushing private enterprise, and mortgaging the inheritance of our children. The challenges ahead may be difficult, but the choices we face are not. We need to limit government, control spending, and create an environment where the free market can thrive and flourish. It's a roadmap our founders laid out more than 2 centuries ago. There is no doubt it will work again. America's progress is not a thing of the past. We can do this. But to achieve this progress, we can no longer compromise our nation's founding principles. Instead, we must fight for them, and in so doing, hope to find common ground in doing so. Chairman Bernanke, I look forward to discussing these and other issues with you today, and look forward to getting your thoughts on how you and the administration, if you're working together with a plan for strengthening our future. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.